Well, is it the legend, a folk legend, or has a local farmer actually found proof of the mysterious chupacabra, an elusive animal said to feed off the blood of livestock? Well, that question has residents in Nelson County buzzing after a farmer captures the unusual animal. So far, that can't be explained.
On in the woods right here. I mean, if you hear a screech, a howl, but that's, I mean, it's not like we have wolves. We have coyotes. It's a very distinct sound.
Hey everyone, it's Blobby back again. Today I'd like to take a look at some things that we haven't really talked about before on this channel, which is going to be urban legends. If you don't know, an urban legend is like a humorous or horrific story / piece of information that was circulated as if it were true. Especially one perpetrating to involve someone vaguely related or known to the teller. That's the Wikipedia example of it, or explanation for it. But it's more of just a story that has been told over a long period of time or is really well known, and people at some point either believe it's real or it's just entertaining even though it's fake. I found a very interesting Iceberg which had plenty of entries on things, so I was like, you know what, let's just hop right into it. If you don't know what an iceberg chart is, you should probably watch some of my other videos because I do make a lot of videos going on them. But the tip or top of the iceberg includes the least disturbing or obscure information, but as you progress through, the entries in the list become more disturbing or more obscure. So with that being said, let's just get right into it. Starting us off is the ankle-slicing car thief. This was an urban legend that a driver is hearing noises underneath their car when they're driving. When they eventually take a stop to get out of their car to investigate the noise, their ankles get sliced open by a knife, and while they're rolling around on the floor in pain, their car gets stolen. Black-eyed children. Black-eyed children is an American legend that describes paranormal creatures who resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16. These children often have pale skin and black eyes and are reported seeing hitchhiking or begging, or are even seen on the doorsteps of homes. The legend originated, apparently, from a Texas reporter named Brian Bethel in 1996, who had wrote a posting on a ghost-related mailing list saying that he had had 2 alleged encounters with the black-eyed children. Cow tipping. Sneaking up on cows and pushing them over for entertainment. Slenderman. A supernatural character that originated as a creepypasta created by a Something Awful Form user, Eric Knudsen, in 2009. He is depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with a featureless head and face wearing a black suit. Hanako San, a Japanese urban legend about the spirit of a young girl named Hanako San who haunts school toilets. The story itself says the ghost of a World War II era girl who had passed away while playing hide and seek during an air raid. Other variations of the story say she was murdered by a parent or stranger, or that she had committed not alive in the school toilet. She's commonly described as having a bobbed haircut and wearing a red skirt or dress. Colonel Buck's Cursed Tomb. In Bucksport, Maine, a tomb of the town's founder, Colonel Jonathan Buck, features an odd stain of an image of a woman's stocking-clad foot or maybe a boot. The legend said the stain on the memorial came about when Colonel Buck had burned a witch and her leg had rolled out of the bonfire. His heirs have tried to clean the stain off the tomb, but it continues to appear. They even replaced the monument twice, but the foot continues to come back. Killer in the Backseat. An urban legend from the US and UK. The story itself says a woman is driving and being followed by a car or truck. The mysterious pursuer flashes the high beams and tailgates her, even ramming her vehicle. When she finally gets home, she realizes the driver was trying to warn her that a man, who is either a murderer or escaped mental patient, was hiding in her back seat, and each time that he had set up to attack her, the driver behind her used his high beams to scare away the killer, causing him to duck down. There are a few other variations to this story that involve the same presence of people warning a woman about a man hiding in the back of her car. Killer Clowns. Killer Clowns was the legend, or I guess the occurrence of the 2016 clown sightings in the US, where there was a bunch of people dressing up as clowns and either just harassing or terrorizing people or just kind of wandering around acting scary. KillSwitch. an urban legend revolving around a horror adventure game called KillSwitch. The urban legend itself is about whether the game exists or not, rather than a specific detail about it. The game was supposedly developed by a Czechoslovakian company with only 5,000 copies released, but according to the legend, the game could only be played once, and once the player had died, the game would erase itself completely from the system, making it unplayable. Monkey Man of Delhi. The Monkey Man of Delhi was an imaginary monster reported to have roamed Delhi in mid-2001, but it was said to have been an example of mass hysteria in India. Nain Rogue. The Nain Rogue was called the Demon of the Strait. It's a legendary creature of Detroit, Michigan, whose appearance is said to presage misfortune. The origins of the story come from early French settlement of the Detroit area, and is proposed from deriving Norman French tales of the Latin, a type of hobgoblin, along with Native American legends of an impish offspring of the stone god. Paul is Dead. Paul is Dead is an urban legend / conspiracy theory that states that Paul McCartney of the Beatles died on November 9th of 1966 and was replaced by a lookalike, Pukwudgies. Pukwudgies, translated by Henry Schoolcraft as Little Wild Man of the Wood That Vanishes, are small human-like creatures found in Delaware and Wampanoag folklore. It's said to be 2 to 3 feet tall. Shotgun Man. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is just me, but this is a really broad term. I initially assumed that it was being spoken on the Shotgun Man assassin from the 1910s, who had killed multiple people between 1910 and 1911. But it also could have been plenty of other people that have committed shootings with a shotgun specifically. I'm just going to assume that it is the Shotgun Man. He was simply an assassin / spree killer in Chicago. The murders by Black Hand extortionists were attributed to what he was doing. But even though his killings were witnessed by dozens of bystanders, the Chicago police were never able to identify him, so he was never charged with anything. They never figured out who it was. Tiki Tiki. Tiki Tiki is a Japanese urban legend about the ghost of a schoolgirl who is said to have fallen on a railway line where she was cut in half by a train. She is an onro, or a vengeful spirit, who lurks in urban areas or around train stations at night. The Vanishing Lady. The Vanishing Lady was a story around a mother and daughter visiting Paris in the 1800s and taking 2 hotel rooms. The mother chose room 342, which was decorated by velvet curtains and flowered wallpaper, but she had soon collapsed. The daughter had proceeded to call a doctor, who had advised her to get medicine that can only be found on the other side of town. After the daughter decides to go find the medicine, she had wandered for a couple of hours before she was finally able to find it and return to the hotel, only to receive a huge shock. Her mother isn't at the hotel. Nobody knows where her mother is. The staff themselves claimed to have not seen the mother, said that the daughter had only arrived alone, but the daughter demands to see room 342. When she arrives in the room, she finds a stranger there, along with his luggage, and the room is no longer decorated with velvet curtains and flowered wallpaper. Her mother's signature on the register too has disappeared. The daughter starts to lose her mind. She reaches out to the embassy and they intervene. In one form of the story, the woman finds out her mother had gotten the Black Plague and the hotel wanted to avoid bad publicity and hidden her mother. But in another version, the daughter never finds her mother, and has a breakdown when she's made to believe that her mother had never come to Paris. She spends the rest of her life in a mental institution. Flatwoods Monster. The Flatwoods Monster, in West Virginia folklore, is an entity reported to have been sighted in the town of Flatwoods in Braxton County, West Virginia, on September 12, 1952, after a bright object had crossed the night sky. Reptilians. Reptilians are reptilian humanoids, or anthropomorphic reptiles that appear in folklore fiction and conspiracy theories. Bigfoot, a large ape-like creature said to inhabit the forests of North America. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, is said to be a creature in Scottish folklore that is said to inhabit the Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It's usually described as a large, long-necked creature with one or more humps that protrude from the water. Night Marchers. Night Marchers are a part of Hawaiian mythology, and they are deadly ghosts of the ancient Hawaiian warriors. The Night Marchers were vanguard for a sacred king, chief, or chiefess. Skinwalkers. A skinwalker is part of Navajo folklore. They're said to be a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. Skunk Ape. The Skunk Ape, also known as the Swamp Ape or Florida Bigfoot, is an ape-like creature said to inhabit the forests and swamps of some southeastern United States. Melonheads. In American folklore of Ohio, Michigan, and Connecticut, melonheads are beings that are described as small humanoids with bulbous heads that emerge from hiding places to attack people. Bandage Man of Cannon Beach. The Bandage Man is a mummy said to haunt the stretch of Highway 101 near Cannon Beach. He had first made an appearance in the 1950s, and it's said that he was the mummy of a logger who was hacked up in a sawmill incident. Barbra O'Brien's Operators. This was a book written by a woman who had experienced a 6-month psychotic break during the 1950s. It's a very good book on schizophrenia, apparently, and will change the way that some people look at the world. Cropsey, an American documentary about the disappearance of 5 children and the urban legend that had grown from their disappearance. Goody Cole. Eunice Cole was a woman from the west coast of New Hampshire. She was better known as Goody Cole. She was the only woman to be convicted of witchcraft in New Hampshire. Clinton Road. The Clinton Road is known for the incredible amounts of strange tales that are connected to it. Mob hitmen, satanic rituals, ghosts, and bizarre creatures with red eyes. Even menacing pickup trucks. Sheepsquatch, also known as the White Thing, is a woolly-haired cryptid reported across numerous counties in West Virginia, predominantly within the southwestern region of the state. HIV attack. There were rumored attacks of people being, attacked with HIV-infected needles. 10% of the brain. The really awful thought that humans can only use 10% of their brain. Lincoln-Kennedy coincidences. A conspiracy surrounding the thought that there are lots of coincidences between the 2 assassinations of Lincoln and Kennedy, some of which being as basic as just the same amount of letters in the name, and others being the thought that maybe it was the government who took these people out. Coca-Cola dissolves teeth. This was a myth proven false around the chemicals in Coca-Cola dissolving teeth. Home Intruder poses as a clown statue. In spring of 2004, a story revolving a babysitter mistaking a knife-wielding intruder hiding in the house she's watching for a clown statue. It exists in 2 different forms, one where the babysitter appears to be the person at risk, and one where the children are the presumed targets of the crazed man. Corpses in water tanks. The story of Elisa Lam is well known. She was in the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles when she was seen on an elevator CCTV footage, acting pretty erratically before her body was found, later floating in a rooftop water tank. But she's not the only case of that happening, as it is kind of an epidemic. I wouldn't say epidemic, but there's a couple of other cases of that happening as well. Drugs and Halloween candy. People telling their children to be careful what they eat from strangers. But the real-life story of Ronald Clark O'Brien shows that it's not only strangers to fear. He murdered his own 8-year-old son on Halloween of 1974 by feeding him a poisoned pixie stick in order to claim his life insurance. Thankfully, he was sentenced to death. Fatal Fair. The Fatal Fair is an urban legend where a man from Japan who had been driving cabs for 40 years picks up a person who seemingly appeared out of nowhere in the middle of the night. The man, dressed in all black, with a long coat and hood on, tells the driver to go to an address and he would give him directions. They drove down twisted and strange streets far out of the city. After driving it on a dark road, the driver turned to ask for directions when he realized that the passenger had just vanished. When he turned back around to look at the road to see where he was, he saw that he was just meters away from a cliff. He tried to slam on the brakes, but it was too little, too late. And the last thing he saw were the sharp rocks at the bottom of the cliff. The White Death. The White Death was a Finnish military sniper during World War II, who's believed to have killed over 500 men during the Winter War. Bunyip. In Australian Aboriginal folklore, a bunyip is a legendary monster said to inhabit the reedy swamps and lagoons of interior Australia, said to make booming or roaring noises, and was given to devour human prey, especially women and children. Mongolian deathworm, a large intestine worm alleged to exist in the Gobi Desert. A doll that grows hair. Okiku Aka, or a haunted doll of Hokkaido, apparently grows human hair and is haunted. The origin of the doll can be traced back to 1918, when a 17-year-old boy bought the doll for his 3-year-old sister. She loved the doll so much that she would bring it everywhere, including to sleep. Unfortunately, she would pass away from a cold, and the family kept the doll as memory of her, but that's when things got odd. The doll's initial hairstyle had grown noticeably longer hair, and the monks in Meneji Temple were entrusted with the doll in 1938 after the family had decided to move away from Kokono. The doll has been resting in the temple ever since, and people could see it, but there were no pictures allowed. The hair on the doll would continue to grow, even down to its knees. The monks would trim the hair from time to time after one monk had received a message in a dream telling to cut the hair of the doll. Cul-De-Sac. This was a creepypasta about Ed, Ed, and Eddie, how all the children are ghosts from different eras of time that are trapped in the cul-de-sac. Baba Yaga. In Slavic folklore, a Baba Yaga is a supernatural being who appears as a deformed or ferocious-looking old woman. She may help or hinder those that encounter her, or seek her out. Gashodokuro. Sorry for butchering that. These are spirits that take forms of giant skeletons and are 15 times larger than the average person. They're said to be created from ghosts of people that had died in battle and weren't buried. Shadow people. A shadow person is the perception of a patch of shadow as a living humanoid figure and interpreted as the presence of a spirit or other entity by believers in the paranormal or supernatural. McMinville UFO. The McMinville UFO photographs were taken by a farming couple, Paul and Evelyn Trent, near McMinville, Oregon, United States, in May of 1950. The photos were reprinted in Life magazine and newspapers around the nation and are some of the most famous photographs ever taken of a UFO. Some skeptics consider these a hoax, while many UFOologists continue to argue that the photos actually depict an unidentified flying object in the sky. Devil's Tower. The Devil's Tower is a large mountain that stands 867 feet tall, the summit being 5,112 feet above sea level. The Devil's Tower was the first U.S. national monument. The name of the tower originated from an expedition led by Colonel Richard Irving Dodge when his interpreter had reportedly misinterpreted a native name to mean Bad God's Tower. Hello Kitty murder. The Hello Kitty murder was a 1999 case where a nightclub hostess was abducted and tortured in an apartment in Hong Kong after stealing a wallet. She was kidnapped on March 17th and tortured continuously by 3 men before she died a month later. She was then beheaded and her skull was placed inside of a Hello Kitty doll. Ghouls, a legendary evil that robs graves and feeds on corpses. Jeff the Killer, a creepypasta revolving around a teen who was disfigured after being set on fire while fighting a gang of bullies, and then loses his sanity after witnessing his new face. When originating on the internet, it was said that the viewing of his image would lead him to kill you in your sleep, while he slowly chants, "Go to sleep." Kagome Kagome, a Japanese children's game where one player is chosen as the Oni, a demon or ogre, and he sits blindfolded with their eyes closed. Then, the children join hands and walk circles around the Oni while chanting a song. When the song stops, the Oni tries to guess the name of the person directly behind them. There's also a creepypasta with the same name that is about a bunch of mad scientists trying some unbelievably literal interpretation of a figure of speech. Walt Disney's body is frozen. People think that Walt Disney, before his death, had had his body frozen so that eventually he could be thawed out in the future when medical advancements could help with his lung cancer. Boogieman, a mythic creature used by adults in order to frighten children into good behavior. They have no specific appearance, and the conceptions vary drastically between household and culture, but are mostly depicted as a masculine or androgynous monster that punishes children for misbehavior. Sinbad Shazam. People saying that they had watched a movie in the 90s called Shazam, where in the movie, Sinbad plays a bumbling genie who wants to grant wishes to 2 children and take them on a journey. Even though people even remember scene-by-scene details, the movie had never existed, even Sinbad himself denying the existence of the movie as a whole. Unfavorable Semicircle, the name of a YouTube channel that had garnered attention for the high volume and unusual nature of the uploaded videos. The videos themselves would just be titled with the Sagittarius symbol and a random 6-digit number, as well as no description. The videos themselves would normally show abstract or pixelated images, or even just a single dot in a scene of solid brown. Some videos being only moments in length, with sound or distorted audio in the background, with some being much longer. One 11-hour video of complete silence was uploaded as well. The channel eventually was suspended by YouTube about a year after it appeared, with nothing happening about the channel or with the channel since the suspension. Solar Plexus Clown Gliders. the collective name given to a broad range of paranormal phenomena attributed to corrupted entity that infects the weak and vulnerable people through the solar plexus chakra. Originally used by an 80s New Age practitioner, the phenomena was linked to a horror-themed email forwardable in the 90s that had claimed by simply reading or hearing the words solar plexus clown gliders, one had become susceptible to infection. The phenomena makes itself known through images or words, feeding off of human misery and bombarding its host human with realistic hallucinations, glitches in the reality, or weakening them emotionally. Then, simply driving the host beyond their fullest capacity for psychological pain. The sickness that comes with the contact of the phenomena, similar to what meth addicts experience with suffering withdrawal. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know, I'm pretty lazy lately, but I'm still just trying to get stuff out and work. I've been on the hustle for one video a week. I fell off this week, but that was actually not due to laziness. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to make a video on, and thankfully this Iceberg had popped up, because without it I probably would have just uploaded another episode of the serial killer Iceberg. If you guys do want to see more of this large urban legend Iceberg, there is a lot more to it that we could go through. I could probably make a couple more videos about it if that's something you guys would be interested in. Once again, thank you for your support. I love you all, and I'll hopefully see you very soon in the next video. Adios.